Offer valid on standard browsers, U.S. only.
When I heard about Date My Age, I thought, really? But there I was in my empty, quiet house, my laptop on the kitchen counter, and I typed in my name. Looking for a man between the ages of 40 to 60? Sure, why not?
Date My Age is different. With verified profiles, you can feel safe and secure to explore meaningful connections with interesting and mature singles.
Date My Age made it really easy. I could join and view online profiles for free. All of a sudden, my empty house wasn't so quiet anymore. I got so much attention, it just made me feel seen and alive. Date My Age helped me start a totally new chapter in my life.
Find a friend, a lover, a partner at Date My Age. Get 60% off when you join at datemyage.com today. That's datemyage.com to connect with thousands of singles worldwide. datemyage.com.
What makes a data breach the worst breach of all time? How about losing our social security numbers, the keys to our identities, and then if you want to take it up a level, how about losing 145 million of them? Breach is a podcast that takes you inside the world's biggest hacks, how they're done, who does them, and what's really at stake when your private data is compromised. And this season, they're investigating the worst breach ever, Equifax. Listen to season 2 of Breach, the Equifax story. This time it's personal. Subscribe to Breach, that's BREACH, in your podcast app right now. And welcome to episode 104 of the True Crime All the Time Unsolved podcast. I'm Mike Ferguson, and with me as always is my partner in true crime, Mike Gibby Gibson. Gibbs, what's going on today?
What's happened, Mr. Furry Man?
I'm doing great.
Yeah.
Furry as always.
Yeah. How's the life of the unemployed?
Actually, surprisingly busy.
Yeah. You're busier now than you were before.
I swear, I do not have the extra time that I thought I was going to have. Why that is, I have a few theories on it that I'll keep to myself, but...
Well, you are now the Midwest podcast king.
Hardly.
No.
Hardly.
You are the Dayton, Ohio.
I don't even know if I'm that. I don't know if we're that. But I will say this. It was nice this week not to have to research the West Memphis 3. I'll be honest about that. I'm fascinated by that case. I remain fascinated by it. It was just...
Exhausting?
It was exhausting. It was a drain.
Yeah.
You know what it was like to get into the muck.
I know. I was worn out.
Of that research.
I was worn out.
So it's kind of nice to move on to something else.
Yeah.
And I think we have a good one for everyone this episode.
I feel... that we do.
But before we get there, let's do our Patreon shout outs.
Okay.
We had Stephen Wills.
Hey, Stephen.
Kathy Malcolm.
Hey, Kathy.
Julia Kay.
Hey, Julia.
Samantha Shipley.
Hey, Samantha.
Karen Long.
Karen.
Lady Di.
Hey, lady.
John. Kennedy Telford.
Hey, John. Hey, Kennedy.
Nicole Smith.
Hey, Nicole.
Rachel Williams.
Hey, Rachel.
Nancy Liebeck.
Nancy.
Lily Crowell.
Hey, Lily.
Martin Wald.
Martin.
Brittany Hoffman.
Hey, BH.
Tia Hartness.
Hey, Tia.
Robin Fallbaum.
Ooh, the Fallbaum.
Joe Birch.
Hey, Joe.
Danielle Thompson.
Hey, Danielle.
Sole Sferis daughter.
Seras Jata.
That's what I'm going with.
Okay.
Brennan Strickland.
Hey, Brennan.
Travis Hetwer.
Hey, Travis.
Heather Hawkins.
Hey, my buddy HH up in Utah.
Beverly Potter.
Ooh, like Harry's relative?
Yeah, maybe.
Okay. Right.
Abby Brown.
Hey, Abby.
Amy Comer.
Amy.
And Eduardo Moraz.
Eduardo.
And then if we go back into the vault, Gibbs.
Let's go.
This week we selected Lisa Parker.
Hey, Lisa.
Longtime supporter of the show.
Well, and she's related to Peter, so.
Very much appreciate it. We appreciate all the new Patreon support, the continued support month in, month out. We had some great PayPal support as well. Brandy Basil,
Hey, Brandy.
Kristen Core,
Hey, Kristen.
Chelsea Camp,
Chelsea.
Lena Smedbach,
Ooh, Smedblock.
Bach.
Smedblock.
Why you always adding L's where there's
you know
no
what?
L?
I'll have whatever I want.
Daniel Javier
Hey, Javi. Yeah, I like that.
and Jill Perrin.
Hey, Jill.
So we appreciate that PayPal support as well.
We do. We love it.
Right now on True Crime All the Time, we have what I feel is a very, very good episode. It's a very scary episode.
Diabolic.
Or diabolical.
That too.
Did you say diabolic? It's on Diane and Rachel Stouty.
It's messed up.
It is. I mean, we're talking about a mother and daughter who essentially poison the majority of their family members.
They do, man. You know what? There's nowhere safe anymore. There's just not.
No, I feel like I'm safe in my house.
Are you?
Unfortunately, their family members were not safe in their house.
Well, you should be always safe in your own house.
No, I feel like I am.
I'm not
When
talking-
you leave, as soon as I click the deadbolt after you leave at night, I feel very safe.
I notice you never drink any of the beverages I bring you.
No,
So,
because I don't trust you.
and that was way
How
before
many
you.
times we talked about
That's
this?
way before you brought the urine episode in.
Crime Con's coming up, Gibbs, in about 3 months.
Yeah,
We're
where's
getting
that at?
excited for that. New Orleans.
New Orleans.
Going to Cafe Du Monde. Going to
Yeah.
have some beignets and chicory coffee.
What else is? What's it? I don't even know what chicory coffee is.
Well, you won't know because you don't like coffee.
I don't drink coffee.
You talked about drinking orange juice. Man, I
Yeah.
got all kinds of emails saying, no way Gibby can have orange juice with a beignet.
Well, I'm not going to have no coffee. I'm not a coffee drinker.
Well, you probably have to go milk or water or something. Actually, milk probably be good.
Can I do Jack and Coke?
I don't know. They don't serve alcohol at the Cafe Du Monde.
Oh, can I just eat it without no
It's also
liquid?
for breakfast, numbnuts.
Oh,
Do you need a Jack and Coke at 8:30?
well, I don't know. It's New Orleans.
Well, that's true. It is. You can probably get one anywhere around the clock.
Yeah.
But if you're going to Crime Con and you haven't purchased your badge yet, make sure you use our promo code Crime All the Time 19. You'll get 10% off your standard badge price.
Exactly.
All right, Gibbs, you ready to get into this episode of True Crime All the Time Unsolved?
Yeah, let's do it.
We are talking about the disappearance of Jennifer Kesse. This is one of those mysterious, fascinating, unsolved true crime mysteries. And we're going down to Orlando, Florida, home of Mickey and Universal and all things fun.
Exactly. Beautiful place.
Jennifer Joyce Kesse was born on May 20th, 1981. She was only 24 years old when she went missing from Orlando on January 24th, 2006. But like I said, this is mysterious. Jennifer's disappearance is perplexing. The investigators conducted an aggressive search for Jennifer in the area surrounding her home. At the time of her disappearance, Jennifer was 5'8", around 130 pounds. She had blonde hair, dark eyebrows, and green eyes. She had a birthmark on her middle finger of her left hand, and she had what was described, Gibbs, as a strawberry-like birthmark on her rib area. She also had a small shamrock tattoo on her left buttock.
Well, it's kind of like you. Don't you have a shamrock on
Very
your
similar.
on your right side buttock?
Very similar.
Yeah.
Another identifying feature that Jennifer had was she had some surgical scars on her left elbow. Jennifer was known to be strong. She was fun-loving. She was described as very career-minded. And also, Gibbs, I think she was an extremely responsible young woman.
Her mom even said when she was just an infant, that first year, she was speaking full sentences. I'm still having problems with that.
By the time she was a year old.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm still struggling.
Now, I do think that Jen, as her friends called her, was a very quick learner. As an infant, through middle school, high school, all the way through college. This was a very smart young woman. She was an overachiever.
She's like a all-American girl.
Yeah. A lot of people said she had a huge heart. Her parents described her as the ideal daughter. Her siblings have described her as the ideal sister.
She was a great friend, a great girlfriend, and even her coworkers. I mean, they adored her and respected her.
Jennifer's parents play a big part in this story, and she had an amazing bond with them, both of them. But I think especially with her mom. After she graduated from college, she and her mom developed an extremely close bond.
And I think that happens with a lot of people when they come back from college. I think you're a different person after you go away to school for 4 years.
Well, and I think as you mature, you also see your parents in a somewhat different light. From the time you're 16, 17 till you're 24, 25.
That's true.
That's a huge difference in the way that you view your parents.
They go from where you're thinking that they're hassling you.
Yep.
Right. To, hey, they actually knew some stuff.
Man, these people aren't as dumb as I thought they were.
They actually know some stuff.
They were trying to steer me in the right direction. Jennifer was a graduate of Vivian Gaither High School in Tampa, Florida. Then she went on to attend the University of Central Florida. She was a member of the Alpha Delta Pi sorority.
Is that the one from Animal House?
I don't know.
I know. You were never part of a fraternity.
I was not. No, that wasn't my thing.
Yeah. You're just Frank the Tank.
Yeah, I figured I could just be Frank the Tank wherever I went.
They all would take you in.
I didn't need a special house to be Frank the Tank.
You just need to know where the keg was?
Yeah, exactly. But Jennifer graduated from UCF in 2003 with a degree in finance. After Jennifer graduated from college, she worked as a finance manager for Central Florida Investments, and she climbed the ladder there pretty quickly.
Yeah, she got 3 promotions within her first year.
I don't think I've ever received 3 promotions in a year.
I don't think you've received a promotion
in quite a while. And I know I won't be receiving any in the near future because I don't have a job.
I know. But you know what? You're happy.
I am happy. But Jennifer bought a condo after she got this job. She was doing great, right? Got out of college, got a job, got her own place. She was doing very well. The community where she bought her condo was an older apartment complex that was going through this conversion to condos, right? From apartments to condos.
Yeah.
And she bought into one of the newer sections that had just converted, but the majority of it was not. There was about 70% that was still in the process of being converted from apartments to condos.
So there was a lot of vacant units, a lot of people coming and going throughout the day, construction workers.
Well, and because of this, so the complex had security gates, but because of, like you mentioned, all of the construction, people coming in and out all the time, they just left the gates open. It was also known, Gibbs, that some of the workers, the construction workers, they would just sleep at night in the vacant units.
Yeah, which, I mean, for them, probably not a bad deal, right?
No.
Didn't have to spend the money for a hotel room.
No, good deal for them. Worrisome, I think, for some of the condo owners.
Well, I think it's a security issue, right? They don't know who those people are.
Sure.
And
they have no ties to the condo complex other than they're working for some company that's doing construction.
Yeah, and when you spend the money you do to own a unit, you expect to have security and privacy.
So let's talk about this complex a little bit. It was located right next to the mall at Millennia. It's a big mall.
It's a really big mall.
A lot of traffic coming in, going out. A lot of outsiders. I guess, I don't know if that's the right word. A lot of traffic from people visiting.
Yeah.
Right? Orlando, just in general, has a lot of traffic from people outside the Orlando area. But this mall did as well. I mean, it was a destination spot, I think, for some people.
I think you're coming in to see Mickey and, the other resorts. I think you're probably cruising over to this gigantic mall to get a little shopping in. I know how much you love shopping.
Oh, I do. Now, a week before Jennifer went missing, she and her boyfriend, Rob Allen, took a week's vacation to St. Croix in the Virgin Islands. They went with some friends.
Yeah, beautiful place, man.
Jennifer and her boyfriend were in a long-distance relationship. He didn't live in the Orlando area.
Yeah, he was in South Florida.
But they took this trip. They had a good time. They returned from the trip pretty late at night. So Jennifer decided that she didn't want to make the long drive home, and she stayed the night with Rob. On the morning of the 23rd, right, one day before she disappeared, Jennifer made the drive from her boyfriend's place in South Florida to her job in Ocoee. She worked that entire day, and then she went home to her condo that night. But it's significant because this was the last time anyone ever saw Jennifer in person.
Yeah.
And again, this was the first time she had been home to her condo unit since the trip to St. Croix.
She got home. She got settled in. I'd imagine she ate some dinner. Then she called her mom, talked to her dad, her brother. Then she called her best friend. And then she called Rob around 10 p.m.
That night, Jennifer made 3 phone calls. You detailed them out: her family, her best friend, and her boyfriend, Rob, with the last one being her boyfriend.
So after her call with Rob, the authorities believe that her phone was powered off and that her battery was removed because there was no further pings off like the surrounding cell towers. So it kind of led them to believe that that's probably what occurred.
So then we get to the next morning, Gibbs, the morning of the 24th. And Jennifer always called or texted Rob in the morning when she got out of bed. And also most times on her commute into work, they would chat, but not this morning. Jennifer never called or texted Rob.
And when Rob tried to get a hold of her, his calls immediately went to voicemail. So he knew something was up. That's not normal for her not to reply to his text messages and for his calls just to roll right to voicemail.
And then Jennifer didn't make it to work. And this wasn't like her. Jennifer didn't miss work. And it wasn't only that she missed work, she missed a very critical meeting at 11 a.m. with her boss. I think very quickly, everybody knew something was not right.
And knowing her work ethic, I think everybody was just alarmed, nervous, because they couldn't imagine her missing work, let alone missing this critical meeting. It just wasn't her character. Knowing something was wrong, her boss called her parents and told them that she hadn't come into work today, and he was concerned.
Well, and so now her parents have to be concerned. They tried calling her for about an hour. No answer. Jennifer's parents lived about 2 hours away from where she did, but they immediately jumped into their car to make the 2-hour drive to her condo to look for her.
Now, they would call the condo and ask them if they could have someone meet them there with a key so they can get into the unit. So while the parents have the management on the phone, they'll ask them if they could go out and see if her car is in the parking lot. So the management agrees to meet the parents at the condo when they arrive. But in the meantime, they told the parents that her car was not in the parking lot. So that was alarming to them.
Yeah, Gibbs, I think that would be extremely alarming. And when her parents arrived at the condo, that's one of the first things they did. They confirmed that her car really was missing, and it was. Then they entered her condo, and they noticed that it looked like no break-in had occurred.
Yeah, nothing was out of place. I mean, she didn't make her bed that morning, but you say you never make your bed.
I never do. I think it's the biggest waste of time in the history of the universe.
And I make mine every morning. Polar opposites.
Exactly. Yeah, and the bed was unmade. There were some work clothes on it. I think her parents thought, okay, she pulled out a few outfits, tried to decide what she wanted to wear that morning, but there were other signs. You know, wet towel, her pajamas were on the bathroom floor, her hair dryer, her makeup products were, you know, on the near the bathroom sink. There was no doubt Jennifer had been at the condo unit that morning.
Yeah.
She had showered. She had gotten ready for work, But one thing that her parents noticed was her pepper spray on the kitchen counter. She had left it behind.
Which was strange for them because they got her that pepper spray years before when they were robbed at gunpoint. And it was a scary time for the family. You know, when you hear that your parents went through an armed robbery and the dad didn't want, his daughter or his other kids to ever feel like that they didn't have something that they could do. So he bought them pepper spray.
Some type of protection or some type of deterrent.
So for her not to take that with her, and that's something that they always said she had with her.
So no doubt parents are extremely worried, but this is when the real mystery begins, right? What happened after Jennifer took her shower, after she got ready for work? Her parents called her boyfriend, Rob, and they told him what they found. But again, they called her cell phone repeatedly. And every single call went straight to voicemail. And they knew what that meant.
Yeah.
Either the phone was dead or it was turned off. So her parents made the decision pretty quickly to call the police.
Well, and the police show up. They look through the apartment, and the police officer says, it just looks like she probably had an argument with her boyfriend, probably needs some time. I'm sure she'll be back later. There's no reason to write a report here, and basically have a good day.
I said good day.
I say good day.
And this is probably the first of what would be many years of the family having some issues with the police department and how they handled this case. I think that's pretty safe to say.
Oh, I agree with you. Because they said this is uncharacteristic of how she would handle things. She wouldn't leave her apartment without her pepper spray, and she would have her cell phone on. She would take their calls. The fact that she's not receiving calls, that's not what they taught her.
Well, and I think it's why we made a big point of it in the beginning. Jennifer was responsible. She was career-minded. I think you take all of that into account, and I think her parents did, in realizing very quickly, this is not what she would have done. Something is wrong here.
Yeah, I feel that they taught her to always keep her head on a swivel.
I believe you're right. But I can't stress it enough. Her parents think something's wrong. These were not people, Gibbs, that were going to sit around and wait any time whatsoever, whether it was 24 hours to file a missing persons report. Her parents came out at some point later and said that they knew the statistics around abductions and that many times people that were abducted were killed within the first few hours. So they rallied friends, they rallied family and coworkers, and they got to it. They started passing out flyers with Jennifer's picture on it that evening. They put everything into motion very quickly.
They would go into apartment buildings, condo buildings. They would stand out on the intersections, and when you pulled up to a red light, they would hand the flyers out to you. They were going to hit any and everybody they could to make sure the awareness was out there.
And it was the right decision because police really didn't take it seriously until the next day. You know, it was the next day when they sent an investigator to Jennifer's condo. It wasn't until the next day that they began to ask questions of neighbors and really began the search for Jennifer and for her car. By that point, I believe investigators thought, like her parents did, that it was possible she had been abducted, but they weren't sure at this point whether it was more likely that it happened as she was getting into her car or if it happened after she had driven some distance, maybe on her way to work. The Orlando Police Department began organizing search parties to scout the surrounding area in a number of different ways. On foot, horseback, they used boats, helicopters, ATVs. Jennifer's sorority sisters got involved in the search, and as did many others. It was said, Gibbs, that over 1,400 people helped in the search
That's a lot of people.
That is a lot of people. 2 days later, on the morning of January 26th, a man called police to report that he had seen a car that matched the description of Jennifer's car parked outside his apartment complex. Now, he said it had been parked there for several days. So this man was a tenant at the nearby Huntington on the Green apartment complex. This was just about a mile away from Jennifer's condo.
And this apartment complex was kind of rough. It was known for drug deals. Now, later, I mean, like currently, if you would go to this complex, it's been converted to condos like most of the things in Orlando. And it doesn't have that issue now. But back then, it was known for drug deals.
So this man had seen on the news a report about Jennifer's black 2004 Chevy Malibu. And that's when he realized that he had seen her car. He made the call to police. So investigators get to the car, and they actually had Jennifer's boyfriend, Rob, look at the car to see if anything looked off. Now, the first thing he noticed pretty quickly was that the seat was way back, much further back than where Jennifer would keep it, which in his head, and I would think in anybody's head, would mean somebody much larger than Jennifer had driven the car last.
So investigators photograph the car. They have it towed to the crime lab so forensics can take a look at it. And in the back seat of the car was a DVD player, which was pretty expensive back in 2006. And it was still sitting there, so they kind of ruled out carjacking, robbery, because if somebody was doing that, they would have taken that at the time.
Investigators confiscated surveillance footage from not only that apartment, but from surrounding buildings as well. And they hit the jackpot. They find a video of an unknown person in Jennifer's car. And what the video shows is this person pulling the car into the apartment complex, parking it, and then sitting in the car for what was determined to be about 32 seconds. The person gets out of the car and is seen walking away, but then disappears from the view of the camera. Investigators determined that this was about 12 o'clock noon on the day that they believe Jennifer went missing.
That's got to be the best lead they have.
No, I would agree. I mean, normally when you have video of a person that you believe could be your suspect, you're jumping up and down.
The problem is, it's not a good video. It's grainy, not very clear, and every time they have an opportunity to see the face, one of the fence posts is blocking it. So they're unable to determine if it's a male or female and any other important distinctive features.
So that's not good. You have what should be this great piece of evidence, actual video, and it's essentially useless, Gibbs. They can't even tell, like you said, if this is a woman or a man. And they can't get any facial features to make a composite sketch or anything like that.
They did ask friends and family to look at the tape and see if they could figure out if it was somebody they knew, to see if they could give insight on this person. But again, they had no luck with this.
So there was no sign of a break-in in Jennifer's condo. There didn't appear to have been a struggle inside. So at this point, investigators theorized that she got up in the morning, she showered, she did go through a couple of outfits before she found the one she liked. She left for work and got in her car. But unfortunately, there was no video surveillance at Jennifer's condo at that time. So again, all police can do is really theorize. And they come up with a few scenarios. One is Jennifer walked out of her condo door to her car and someone was waiting for her. They grabbed her either before she got in or after she got in the car at the condo, while the car was still parked. Another theory is that Jennifer was somehow convinced by someone to pull over minutes after leaving the condo, and they abducted her at that point.
Yeah, maybe they were saying, hey, there's something, wrong with your car. You better pull over. I mean, there's all kind of tricks of the trade. Yeah.
Something's wrong with your tire. Your gas latch
is open. So I will say this. Whoever that is on that tape, they are really lucky that it's grainy. And every time the camera had an opportunity to see their face, a fence post was blocking the view. Because I think if you could see the face, I think they would have been able to identify the person, and then that would have propelled the investigation forward.
Well, yeah, I don't think there's any doubt about that. And I also do believe it was sheer luck. I don't think that there's any way somebody's that good to time everything so perfectly that they're dodging the camera, passing fence posts.
Yeah, they're not a ninja.
Yeah, I just think it was bad luck. Good luck for them, whoever this person is, if they were involved.
Bad luck for the case.
Yeah. So the FBI get involved, and using the surveillance footage, they're able to determine the suspect's height is somewhere between 5'3" and 5'5". They also said that this person was wearing clothes similar to what a painter or some type of manual worker would wear. NASA even got involved, Gibbs, in trying to enhance the picture on this tape.
Yeah, to see if they could pick up any additional details or clean it up.
But that's how bad the tape was. NASA couldn't even get to the point where they could really get the details needed to see who this person was. But I want to go back to the FBI estimation of height. 5'3" to 5'5". You and I have talked about this before. I'll say it again.
Yeah.
I know there are men that are in that range.
Sure.
But that is short for a man. There's no doubt about that. That's well below the average, especially if you're talking 5'3".
Yeah. I think that would lead you to believe maybe it was a woman.
I definitely think it would. I think the number of women that are 5'3" to 5'5" is much greater than the number of men that are 5'3" to 5'5". Doesn't mean that it couldn't have been a man, but if you're playing the odds and looking at proportions, you would have to say more likely than not, this could be a female.
Yeah, it is a slightly confusing because if you think about them saying the car seat was slid back.
That's true.
Knowing that Jennifer's 5'8".
Yeah.
But maybe she liked it up close. Some people drive right up on top of the steering wheel. And even, shorter people like it further back where they're leaning back kind of into the seat and have a low profile.
But at some point you have to be able to reach the pedals.
Well, you would think you'd want to. How else are you going to move forward?
So I think it's a very good point that you're bringing up. Jennifer was 5'8".
Yeah. She
was not a short woman. And I'm just wondering, knowing that the car seat was pushed back much further, that's the way it was described.
Sure.
Much further than where Jennifer would have kept it. Could a person, male or female, standing 5'3", have been able to reach the pedals? I don't know, because I don't know exactly how far back the seat was.
And we don't know when they got out, did they move it back?
Sure. Yeah, you're right. There's nothing definitive that they drove it that way. They could have got out. They could have pushed the seat back to make you think it was
somebody taller,
somebody bigger, taller. Now, investigators had her car and they found some things inside the car. So again, some of these things were valuable, like the DVD player. It really goes against a robbery. And we mentioned that forensics got a crack at the car. They only discovered 2 pieces of evidence. One was a latent print, and the other was a small fiber. Not much, right, found in this car. I think investigators assumed the car was wiped down to some degree.
Well, maybe that's what that person was doing for 32 seconds.
Maybe that's why they pushed the seat back.
Yeah.
So to have more room to wipe things down.
True.
One of the frustrating things is the fiber and the print don't really lead anywhere, right? Gibbs, there's nothing that, I mean, obviously they don't crack the case wide open. We wouldn't be profiling this on Unsolved. They brought a search dog in who was able to pick the scent up at the car and tracked it back to Jennifer's condo community.
Which was pretty impressive, knowing that that was just slightly a mile away, that the dog could actually do that.
Yeah, I don't know exactly what it means. I think to investigators, they thought that it meant the suspect returned to Jennifer's condo parking lot after dropping her car off at the apartment complex. I think that's what they took from the dog tracking. But there was no other evidence found, either, inside the car, at the apartment complex, or on that route from the apartment complex back to Jennifer's condo. So we talked about what was inside the car, but there were some things that were missing from Jennifer's car. Her cell phone was not in there. Her iPod, keys, purse, briefcase. These are all things that people believe Jennifer would have had with her in the car when she left to go to work that morning, if she got in the car to go to work that morning.
Right.
But I think, Gibbs, even if she left her house, no matter if you think she was abducted before getting in the car or after getting in the car, these are things she would have had with her the minute she stepped outside of the condo.
Sure.
Right? She's going to have her purse. She's going to have her briefcase because she's going to work.
Right.
She's going to have her cell phone, and she had to have her car keys and most likely her iPod.
Right.
People talked about her iPod. We talked about the fact that investigators were not able to ping her cell phone, or, they realized it wasn't pinging off of any cell phone towers.
And they determined that her bank card wasn't used since her disappearance, or her e-pass. So it's not like she decided to escape herself, to just leave Orlando and start a new life.
Or if she did it with a
nothing
bunch of cash.
Yeah, exactly. She didn't no electronics.
Right. She left no digital trail. So as they would do in any case, investigators questioned friends and family. They questioned coworkers. They were looking for, anything they could find. They were looking for evidence of, some form of motive. Who would have wanted to do something bad to Jennifer Kesse? They talked to her ex-boyfriend and her then current boyfriend, Rob. Rob had an alibi. And I think pretty quickly, Gibbs, investigators felt that he didn't have anything to do with her disappearance. Now, her ex might have been a different story. It came out that he was still in love with Jennifer. He had somewhat of a hard time letting go of that relationship. Investigators found out that the night before Jennifer went missing, this guy had been out drinking and was actually in a bar located just across the road from her condo complex.
Reportedly heavily intoxicated.
That's not good. Doesn't mean you did anything wrong, but it's not good that you happen to be at a bar across the street the night before your ex-girlfriend goes missing. But nothing else really comes out about the ex-boyfriend. And I'm imagine, Gibbs, that police looked at him pretty hard, and they must not have found anything. Now, we talked about the fact that Jennifer's condo was undergoing some major renovations, had been for quite a while. There were a lot of construction workers in and out, and investigators tried to interview some of the construction workers. Some they found out were illegal aliens. And we mentioned some of these people had been staying in some of the condo units that were vacant, that were being renovated from apartments to condos. And investigators found out some things from Jennifer's family. I guess that she had told them. And it was that, these construction workers harassed her on a daily basis. We're talking catcalls, very sexually explicit talk, things that women don't want to hear.
Yeah, I never get why guys think women enjoy the catcalls. I don't know any woman that enjoys the guys yelling out.
Yeah, let me hear your best catcall. Are you about ready to do one? Okay,
man.
I didn't think you were.
I'm not going to do that, man.
No, I agree with you. I never have understood it. I don't think there's any women that would ever think, oh, that's flattering.
Yeah.
That you're saying these, things about me.
Thanks for those obscene things. Now, as guys on the other side, we'd be okay with catcalls.
I know,
Fergie.
I know you would.
Hey, Fergie, I like the way you walk.
I know you like it when construction workers call out to you.
No, I'm talking about women catcalling.
Okay.
Yeah.
You didn't,
hey, Fergie, I like the way you walk.
You didn't clarify that.
Hey, Fergie,
so.
I really like how you fit in that furry costume.
I just assumed you enjoyed catcalls from construction workers.
Hey, if they want to catcall me, go ahead, man. That's all right. I'm a confident man.
But I think it went beyond just her being uncomfortable with this. She confided in her family, Gibbs, that she was actually scared of some of the workers. The problem was investigators had a very hard time getting these people to discuss the case.
Well, I think some of them, you probably had some language barriers.
Well, and like I mentioned, some were discovered to be illegal.
So they're not going to want to have they're going to disappear for a little bit.
They're going to be avoiding the authorities at all costs. So they really didn't get anywhere with that part of the investigation. And I do think, Gibbs, that's part of the reason why this is a very frustrating case. I know the family is extremely frustrated. We'll probably talk about it a little bit more later on, in that the investigation doesn't produce results.
Right.
But when you're talking about an unsolved case, more often than not, you're talking about a lot of hard work that really produces very little results. If you had results, it wouldn't be an unsolved case.
Yeah, we wouldn't be talking about it.
Now, that's assuming that investigators and authorities are putting the necessary amount of work into the investigation. And I think at a certain point, the family is going to question that as well.
I mean, this really is the classic unsolved with all the rabbit holes. You got the 5'3" to 5'5" person that could be dressed as a manual labor worker, painter. You got potential suspects with workers at her condo unit. You got the ex-unhappy boyfriend drunk across the street. And then we have this suspicious coworker.
So this is a guy that hits police radar as a result of them searching her office computer, looking through her emails. This is a guy that was in management at the company that she worked for. And apparently he wanted to date Jennifer, but she had turned him down. He didn't like that. He didn't like being rejected. And he asked her out continually for a period of time. I think where you really get to the rabbit hole part of it is there's an allegation that when this guy found out Jennifer was missing, he said she probably has been eaten by the gators by now. And allegedly he said this to some of his coworkers who alerted the authorities to these comments that he made. And they interviewed him several times.
And I think part of their concern was he was late to work the day she went missing. His alibi was he got a speeding ticket that morning, and that's why he was late. And he could produce a speeding ticket. I think some people feel that's not a very strong alibi. And I kind of agree. I don't know how solid of an alibi a speeding ticket can be. It can probably account for some time frame.
Well, that's what I was going to say. It can put you in a very specific location for what I would think, Gibbs, is a pretty limited amount of time. It doesn't take very long to get a speeding ticket, usually. What would you say?
8 minutes?
5-10 minutes? Yeah, I was going to say 10 minutes, usually.
Yeah.
So you're not accounting for very much of your morning, I don't think, with a speeding ticket. Now, it can put you in a location that is X amount of minutes away from a crime scene or something like that. But,
sure.
But I think this guy's interesting. Investigators essentially determined that they don't believe he had anything to do with it. But I think in large part, it's based off of his alibi in this speeding ticket. So you really do have to figure out, does that mean he had no opportunity, or does it mean that his window was a little smaller? I don't know, but it's definitely interesting.
I think he had opportunity. I just don't know what size window that opportunity was.
And I think we have to talk a little bit about human sex trafficking. This is something that investigators had to consider. Was Jennifer Kesse abducted for this reason? And they didn't pull it out of thin air, because just a month after Jennifer disappeared, there was a huge human trafficking ring that was busted in the Orlando area.
Well, I think the opportunity for her to be kidnapped for that existed.
I think it's an area that they had to look at. They have to look at everything. In May 2007, Jennifer's company offered up a $1 million reward for information leading to her whereabouts. But there were some conditions to the reward. Number one, they set a deadline of July 4th. Number two, Jennifer had to be alive, but it was never claimed. But $1 million, Gibbs, is a lot of money.
It is a lot of money. And you would think if somebody knew something, I think $1 million would make you ponder it really hard to come on out of the dark and say something.
The thing that struck me about it was the deadline. So
Pretty fast.
Yeah, it's not a whole lot of time. It's essentially 2 months.
Yeah.
Give or take. We don't have the information as to why that period of time was selected. I can't imagine if somebody came forward on July 5th, you telling me you're not going to give them the $1 million if they lead you to a safe Jennifer Kesse?
Yeah, I think that would be difficult to explain. But I also think, was the opportunity better served by saying $1 million if it leads to her being alive and safe, or to an arrest to whoever did whatever they did to her, right? I think you had an opportunity to get maybe some leads there.
Yeah, I wonder if it was something to do with maybe company insurance. Like they had a policy maybe for employees that were abducted, but it was very specific.
And they had to stay within those guidelines to offer that large sum.
Yeah, I never saw anything concrete, with the details about it. There was a $5,000 reward for information leading to the whereabouts of her remains. That was made available through the Central Florida Crime Line. Now, I don't want to say $5,000 is not a lot of money, but back to your statement, Gibbs, is $5,000 going to make you come out of the dark, as you put it, and turn on someone?
No.
I don't think so.
I don't think so. I don't think a criminal is going to do that.
No, or a family member of a criminal. You're not going to probably give somebody up for $5,000. Now, $1 million, you got to think about that one.
People will turn on you in a heartbeat.
Oh, there's no doubt.
That's the bigger problem with $1 million is not only would you get probably the people that know something, you might get people that don't really know anything.
Oh, I guarantee you would get, there are people lined up at the door.
Yeah.
Just taking a shot at the million.
I know my wife did it.
Yeah.
You know that's what would happen.
This was a big case. Jennifer's case received local, state, national press attention at the time of her disappearance. This led to the Florida House of Representatives on May 2nd, 2008, unanimously passing Senate Bill 502. This is also known as the Jennifer Kesse and Tiffany Sessions Missing Persons Act, changing the way missing persons cases are handled in Florida. This expanded the state's missing child alert system to include anyone up to age 26 and required that after 90 days, a missing person's DNA be entered into local, state, and national databases. I don't see anything wrong with that, Gibbs.
No.
What I do have somewhat of an issue with, and you and I kind of see this on a lot of the Unsolved especially, is that it always seems like it takes a tragedy to spur some type of change. You know what I'm saying?
It was a year ago we did a podcast on, murders that change laws. And exactly what you said back then. It's great that they have them. It's sad that it took the events that occurred to get to that point.
Yeah, because you have these different types of legislations, and there's a person's name on it, which from a certain viewpoint is great. I think for the family, it means that that person's disappearance or their murder or whatever happened to that person led to something good, right? Something good came out of the tragedy. I just always think about, why can't we think about these things before someone is abducted, murdered? Because a lot of these newer laws, they probably help prevent some of these things. I mean, that's what they're designed to do. In 2009, Jennifer's father, Drew Kesse, he met with convicted killer David Byron Russ. And I think you and I have talked about something similar to this before, Gibbs, but this meeting came about from playing cards featuring unsolved cases that are passed out to inmates. I know we've talked about it at least one time.
Oh, we have. And this is when they put her profile on the card.
Drew never disclosed what Russ said to him when they met, but apparently he did pass on the information to the Orlando Police Department. Obviously, Gibbs, it couldn't have been groundbreaking info because it didn't lead to anything that we're aware of. In 2011, the family established the Jennifer Kesse Scholarship to award $1,000 each year to a Florida resident who is a graduate student studying criminal justice at the University of Central Florida. So I think that's a good thing. It's a way to honor Jennifer.
It's a way to keep her memories alive.
To keep her memory alive. And again, we don't know what happened to her. She could still be out there somewhere. I know sometimes people think that's far-fetched because we're now, 13 years since her disappearance.
Yeah.
But we also know people have come back.
Absolutely, we do. Many.
Now, I've hinted at this throughout the episode. Over the years, the Kesse family began to get disillusioned, I think, with police at the lack of progress that they've made. They've hired their own private investigators. They have their own attorneys. They put up their own money, $15,000 for any information that leads to Jennifer. They've had thousands of leads. The family's had a bunch. The police have had a lot of leads and tips, and a lot of things have poured in. But in 2018, the Kesse family sued the Orlando Police Department. They wanted to get access to the case files because they're essentially they want to head this thing up themselves. They want to take it on.
And we've had other cases that we've covered that they've had to do the same.
We have. The city told them, the Kesse family, that it would cost over $18,000 for the almost 15,000 pages of case files, because I guess they said that they would have to go through and redact a lot of the information, and that would take a lot of man hours, and that's where all the cost comes from. The attorney for the Kesses have said that, they're throwing this amount out there as some type of deterrent.
Sure. Sounds like it.
To keep the family from pursuing the case on their own. And really the contention is over whether or not this is a cold case. The family says it is, and therefore it should be subject to Florida's public records law. The police say it's not. This is an ongoing investigation. They said that they have dedicated a new detective to the case. They've put Jennifer's picture up on bus billboards around the city. I mean, this is all within the last year or so.
I guess it just depends on how you define a cold case. And I think that's always going to be the problem. I think the family's going to say, at this point, I don't care how you define it. We just want it to be a cold case because we want the records.
Yeah, I believe you're right.
We've given you all these years to try to find what happened to my sister, to my daughter. Now we want to take it and have our investigators do their work.
Yeah, let's listen to a clip from Drew Kesse, Jennifer's dad.
Up there that you weren't saying. What were you trying to say up there?
We need the cooperation of the Orlando. Honestly, I don't even know if it's the Orlando Police Department. We need the cooperation of City Hall and the lawyers that are advising Orlando Police Department that it is time to cooperate with the Kesse family and their investigative and lawyers team. It's time for a lot of reasons. If we stand right here, we thank you for this. We actually do. But this is a blaring and glaring point that this case is cold. After 12 years, who puts a bus out here? Who increases a reward? Who puts a detective on full time for the third time? This never really happened. I mean, all these things that are happening, we understand the system. We understand what they have to do. However, we have done things for not only the department, not only for this community, for this state and for this country. We change the way people are found when they go missing. And I don't think that we're sitting on the sidelines for 12 years saying, okay, we're twiddling our thumbs, we can't do anything. Are you kidding me? We have had our lives threatened. We have been attempted extortion several times. We have been tempted luring to international companies. We have been asked to lie. I have been on death row mic'd up to try and get information. There is nothing that we have not tried to do to help the situation. I encourage you to go to the authorities, to go to police, and have them write down every single piece of anything that they did for Jennifer for 12 years. You'll be amazed. It's incredible what they have done. It's incredible. Proof again. It's a cold case. We don't have anything.
So I know we didn't have a lot of clips in this episode, Gibbs, but I wanted to play that because I really think it gives a sense of the family's frustration.
Yeah.
And it's not that they're saying the police are horrible. They're terrible.
No.
They're just saying they haven't been able to get it done.
And I think he's saying the police have exhausted all their angles, and it's time for fresh eyes to take a look at it.
Yeah, I think you're right. But it's one of those cases. We said it right up front. It's mysterious. It's perplexing. It's frustrating. It's one of those where you just wish that someone would give that one little nugget that would make all the pieces fall into place so that we would know exactly what happened to Jennifer if something bad happened to her, as I believe most people probably think at this point. But I don't know. I don't know if it will happen.
I think there's going to be some type of closure in this one. I really do.
But that's it. That's the case of the disappearance of Jennifer Kesse. Gibbs, we got some voicemails. You want to check those out?
Sure.
All right.
Hi, Mike and Gibby. This is Jenny Rapson from the beautiful city of Dayton, Ohio. I have been a true crime fan for years, but just started listening to true crime podcasts a few months ago. And it took me at least a month of listening before I realized you guys were from Dayton, because obviously I did not start with episode 1. And when I found out, I totally flipped out. I was so excited that you guys are hometown guys, so that's pretty cool. I have a suggestion for you, speaking of Dayton, for a story to cover. I don't know if you've heard of it, but in 1968, there was a murder in Kettering in a store parking lot of a woman named Barbara Ann Butler. And when I was a teenager, I read a book about it called The Girl on the Volkswagen Floor. I think about 5 years later, they thought they figured out who did it, and he was in jail for a different murder, but they never officially charged him with this murder. And so I think her case is still officially unsolved. But I thought you guys might want to look into that. I don't know if you've done any Dayton cases before, but thought I would suggest that one maybe for unsolved, unless it is officially solved. But either way, hope you guys check it out, and I will look forward to listening some more. Keep your own time ticking. Go Gym City.
Dayton in the house.
Go Gym City.
Gym City. People that don't know Dayton's like, what's the Gym City?
That's Dayton.
It is Dayton.
So that's very cool. I will say, I've never heard of that case.
I've never either. I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, we definitely need to check it out. We have done, Gibbs, one Dayton case.
Yeah.
It was on True Crime All the Time. It was Marvelous Keen.
Yeah, it was.
But we do have, I've got a Dayton suburbs case that I've been looking at. And then we have the Erica Baker unsolved that we've been thinking about doing. So
Hey, Mike and Gibby. My name's Cole. I'm from Indiana, originally from Crawfordsville, hometown of Larry Eiler, and now living in Indianapolis, so fair share of serial killers and crime. I wanted to let you know I had been through criminology and true crime all the time, and now on to Unsolved. I was just listening to the episode on the Torrey Pines murders. And you guys prefaced that one with a bit of the Delphi murders. Just wanted to let you guys know, as I was calling you, we are the day before the 2-year anniversary of those murders. So media has really been high on trying to get new information out. But recently there was a suspect who matched the description and everything. He actually committed suicide in a traffic stop and short shootout with police, also in northern Indiana. So little update for you guys. All right.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that. So again, we're always somewhat behind on voicemails because we get a lot. And Morph and I actually did a 2-year episode on the Delphi murders on criminology. What I think is interesting is, so he's on Unsolved. He's about 2 years back.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if you remember that, Gibbs, but when those murders happened, the Delphi murders, and I talked about it on this recent episode of criminology, I remember all the true crime podcasters, and there obviously wasn't as many back then as there were today, but we all kind of banded together and we decided we were all going to put out on the same weekend something about the Delphi murders, right? They had the video, they had the voice.
Tape, yep. Like a call of action.
Yeah. It's surprising that it's been 2 years. It's kind of hard to believe.
Yeah.
Hey, Mike. Hey, Gibby. My name's Anna. I'm from Nashville, and I just love your podcast. And I listened to the criminology one about the Golden State Killer, and I actually had to stop listening to you guys for a while because that's where I'm from. And it eventually just got to me because I recognized the places, and I got really scared. But I've started listening again now that I'm over it, and I just absolutely love all the podcasts, the True Crime All the Time, and Unsolved. And I just had a suggestion for you. I live in Nashville now, and there's a story here about Marcia Trimble. She was a little girl who they equate with Nashville losing its innocence because she was murdered while she was out delivering Girl Scout cookies. And they really thought it was like the teenager, and his life was just kind of like torn apart by it, and then it turned out not to be him. And it's just it's a really amazing story because they didn't realize, like, it took them a while to find her and her body, and then where they found it, someone had already checked before. So it's always been like a controversy about whether or not she's been there the whole time. And it's just a really like amazing story that has all these details, and I just think it'd be really good for you guys too for True Crime All the Time because it is solved. It is a solved case now. Anyways, keep your own time ticking.
All right. Well, we'll definitely check into that. I played it on Unsolved. I probably should have played it on TCAP, but
that's all right.
That's all right. She listens to all three.
That's right. Thank you for that.
Hey guys, this is Samantha, and I'm just calling to let you know that I was just listening to your episode 117 on the Pepin Sisters in France, and two things. I am a longtime listener, and I am currently living in France. I'm originally from Boston, but I live in France because I had the lack of common sense to marry a French man. And so we are living here in France, and I listen to you every single week, and you keep me connected and keep me sane. And also, I wanted to let you know that you are welcome to visit anytime. And for the record, French fries are actually from Belgium. So sorry to break your bubble there. But anyway, keep up the good work. I love listening to you, and you always have a place in France next time you want to come visit. Take care. Bye-bye.
She clearly doesn't understand my freeloading and staying at free places when traveling abroad.
She obviously doesn't. Never tell Gibby that you have a free place for him to stay.
Yeah.
Because he'll just come and set up shop.
Yeah. Now I'm going to have to be on my way. Stop there before I go see the Florence Foodies.
So French fries originated in Belgium?
It's like next door. It's like Indiana to Ohio. So that's interesting, though.
It is.
Yeah.
I did not know that. I learned something today.
Somebody cut some potatoes and dropped them in some oil and said, this is good.
It is good. All right. That's it, Gibbs, for another episode of True Crime All the Time Unsolved. So for Mike
and Gibby,
stay safe and keep your own time ticking. Hey folks, don't forget to check out our sponsor, BetterHelp. Whatever struggles you're facing, depression, anxiety, trauma, grief, BetterHelp can connect you with a professional counselor in a safe and private online environment. Our listeners get 10% off your first month with the discount code TCAT. Go to betterhelp.com/TCAT and fill out a questionnaire to get matched with a counselor you'll love today.